Okay, so this is Juno. Juno came to me about 2 days ago. She's a Parsons Russell Terrier who has a multiple bite history and is extremely aggressive and extremely resistant to doing anything that she doesn't want to do. So we're going to start her on the treadmill. She's never done this before. She's never been near the treadmill before. I always like to start dogs off with the treadmill already moving at a very slow pace. I have, in the past couple days, begun Juno on my basic leash work program so she understands leash pressure as a form of communication. So the way I begin this process is by applying a slight forward pressure on the leash in the direction of the treadmill and making sure that I release that pressure the moment she gives me even the slightest effort. It's very normal that a dog who's never done this before is going to be nervous about this moving surface. And that's why anytime she even shows that she's leaning her weight towards it, lifts a foot up, or shows any effort that she's trying to understand what I'm asking of her, I release the pressure on the leash to show her that I appreciate her efforts and I'm not going to push her beyond her comfort zone.
Good.
You can see that she's already starting to progress further, even with just her front 2 feet being on the treadmill. She's doing that on her own without me having to force. The leash is quite loose there.
Yeah, girl, look at you.
If she gets nervous like she does right here, I simply just let her walk away. It's not worth the stress to make her work through it. Typical Juno. You can see she's pretty aggressive. I don't know if the camera can see back there at all. But she is going to town here. What's important to watch here is the timing of pressure and release on the leash. It's that release of pressure that really shows her that I'm here to support her and help her work through this challenging concept.
Girl.
Within just a few minutes, Juno steps up onto the treadmill on her own with only slight guidance from me. And at this point, I use the leash very lightly just to keep her pointed straight so that she can continue to walk. This is a very odd feeling for a dog.
It's hers.
Now that she has all 4 feet on the treadmill, it's important to increase the speed. If the treadmill is going too slow, it is a very unnatural gait and cadence for the dog. So we need to get the treadmill up to a speed where she can walk more naturally and feel more comfortable.
Good.
Now we've got the treadmill going at a pretty comfortable pace for her. You can see that her gait is more relaxed and natural. In a moment, you're going to see me loosen the leash to allow her to slide down the treadmill a little bit to feel that there is a boundary there, right there. The first time I guide her back up, but I want her to feel that boundary so she can begin to self-regulate. You're going to see it again in a moment that I do not have to guide her. She corrects herself, and that allows her to figure out how to stay more centered on the treadmill. At this point, Juno is doing great, and I'm going to get ready to end the session. But I do just want to note that if any point throughout this process she were to start to panic and attempt to jump off, I would let her do that. I do not want to force her to stay on the treadmill, as that can be incredibly stressful. So now in a moment, I'm going to slow down the treadmill and bring it to a stop. I like to end the session by stopping the treadmill and inviting her off so she knows not to just jump off on her own. Next dog is Keno. Keno is a young dog who doesn't have any major aggression issues, but was extremely out of control, disobedient when he came in just a couple days ago, and extremely opposed to any guidance on the leash. In fact, when we would get him out of his kennel, the moment we tried to lead him anywhere, he would start jumping up and down, spinning in circles, and biting at the leash in protest.
Good. Good.
So I'm going through the same process with Keno. He's a little bit more resistant than Juno was. He is a young dog who has just a mind of his own and really wants to go about and do his own thing. This is sort of his attitude towards training in general. He doesn't have a lot of focus at this stage. He's made a lot of progress since the filming of this video and is actually doing quite well. He's going to turn out to be a really nice dog. So with Keno, it just takes a little bit more repetition. You can see he's just now starting to get his forefeet up on the treadmill, even if it's just for a second, and that's okay in these early stages. I edited out a lot of the early repetitions because it was really just the same stuff that you had seen, and it would be a little bit boring to watch. So he did, in fact, take a little bit longer than Juno, but he's going to come along just the same.
Good boy. Good boy. Good. Good boy. Good boy, buddy.
Again, you can see rather than force him to stay up there when he begins to get nervous, I let him step off on his own so he can see that we're not going to bully him through this process. We're here really to help him through it. Here his back leg is a little bit stuck, so I just help him with my leg to get up there. He was just in a little bit of an awkward position with the railing.
Good boy.
Again, now that he's up here comfortably, the only thing left to do is to bring the treadmill to a natural pace for him. So he's doing pretty good. I'm raising the speed just a little bit, and that's about where he's comfortable for now. Eventually this dog is going to go much faster because he's a pretty quick moving guy. So I just wanted to show how much of this transfers over into the next session. In this case, I waited a day in between sessions, and you're going to see that even though he only did this one time and I waited 24 hours before doing it again, he retained so much of the experience, and this time around it's very, very easy for him to get up there.
Boy.
So now we've got him moving along at a pretty good clip, and he's doing great. For a dog with a lot of energy like Keno, it's important to get him going at a good speed so he's challenged both physically and mentally. Alright, so next up is Humphrey. Humphrey's probably, in general, the most stubborn of all of these dogs. We've got him on a prong collar. That's what his owners use to walk him at home. He would just as soon choke himself than go where you want him to go on a leash, and the prong collar prevents that from happening. So it's a great tool for a dog like him. And even though he's super stubborn, what you're going to see here is that sometimes it's just super easy. So here you're going to see that I attempt to raise the speed on the treadmill, and Humphrey takes advantage of the opportunity to jump right on off when I'm not paying attention. So that was my mistake. I slow the treadmill right back down so that it's easy for him to get back up there and we can start again. And just as before, we want to get Humphrey up to a good pace so he can walk at a nice relaxed gait. Well, there you have it, folks. That is how we teach dogs to walk on the treadmill. Please be careful if you are trying this at home, and remember to never leave your dog unattended on the treadmill.